Here we go. And it's post.
And there it is. Okay. Give me a second. There's going to be some feedback and everything for a minute. I just got to get the URL. There's going to be some feedback and everything for a minute.
I'm living AARP right now. I need you, Ruben.
I'm here, Greg.
Okay, there was a second email that I sent that had 4 links to like 3-minute videos.
Oh, let me
Did
check.
you see that second email?
Hold on. I have the one email with the guest names and the one with the post.
After that.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I have the poster. I don't think I got it, Greg. Sorry, I didn't receive it. You can still forward it to me if you need to.
Well, we do want to play those.
Yeah, just re-forward. Yeah, just resend them to me. I'm sorry I didn't receive them.
It says clips I'd like to play on the show tonight.
Okay, well, refresh.
I'm sending it right now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that just went back to you. See if you got it while I'll finish doing the shares.
Okay. All right. Yeah, just continue sharing and
Yep.
refresh this. Oh, for some reason that email's gone to the spam folder. It's weird.
Huh.
Yeah, it's weird. I got everything else, and it's from the same email.
I wonder if the fact that it was forwarded made it hit that.
Okay. Great. This is 4 clips, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
And did you see I wrote an order
Right.
for them?
I'm bringing them up now. Put them in order. Okay, I have all 4. Just call out which video you'd like to play first. If you want to play them in the same order you sent them.
Okay, so do you see the order there? Communication. It starts with the 2 that are on attitude. One is the slideshow.
Okay.
Attitude,
yeah, I have attitude.
Pathis.
I have attitude, soft skills.
Yeah.
I have 2 of them. I have one for pratypathic attitude, and I have attitude.
Right. The first, the one that you said is just attitude. That's a slideshow, so that goes first.
Okay, got it.
And the one with pratypathis goes second.
Second. Okay.
Okay. Then there's 2 called communication. One is the communication slideshow.
Okay.
And the other is communication 2.0 with Carrie Mandel.
Okay, Carrie Mandel goes last.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, we got it.
That's her order. This woman is actually kind of amazing. Ray will tell you more about her, but she, I don't know, ran 7 marathons in 7 continents or something in 7 days.
Oh wow.
Yep. And she just did this Ultraman, where you have to swim 16 miles, you bike like 250 miles, and then you run 3 marathons all in 3 days.
Oh wow.
It's preposterous, but I mean, so I guess somebody's got to do it, right?
Right.
Well, you know, I do something similar. I can play the minute waltz in 45 seconds.
And you also play pickleball together with Robin. So there you go.
There you go.
Do you play pickleball?
Yes, I do.
That's awesome. I have to learn how to play pickleball.
You got to keep the podiatrist in business.
Of course.
If
I
the
just had
podiatrist-
physical therapy on my knee from stupidity for the last couple of weeks, so I know all about it.
Yeah, the podiatrists go out of business, the whole economy crumbles. I'm ready whenever you are. Wait, actually, I'm not ready, but I can be.
Hold on 1 second. I had to, for some reason, it's not letting me play the link in the browser. Do something a little different. Give me a second.
Okay.
This way.
I gotta tell you, Peg, I'm really starting to wrestle with the yin and yang of the removal of a child from a home environment.
There's no one right answer because it depends on every single person.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if we can say overall, oh, it's always better to, because it's not always better to one way or another. It's just too unique to make a blanket statement.
Yeah. We have a young lady right now who
Okay,
look
great.
at it on the surface, you go, oh goodness gracious, if this young lady is ever going to have a chance in life, she's got to get out of the environment that she's in.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Then you take her out of the environment that she's in, and she, goes to pieces.
Exactly. I mean, and you never know. You can never really predict one way or another the effect that will have on somebody. What really needs to happen is kids just don't need to be damaged in some way.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's coming from a household. That's not something automatically inflicted.
All right,
Yeah.
great. We are ready to launch. I had to move the links that you sent me for the slideshow to another screen. So when we show the slides, just bear with me, so we can actually, so you guys can see it too as well. Okay, but other than that, let's get ready to rock and roll.
That's Mozart. He's such a show-off.
And take it, Greg.
Welcome, everyone. It is 6:12 on Monday night. You're listening to the 221st installment of the Age Out Angels Radio Hour on HamiltonRadio.net Channel 2. I'm your host, Greg Rapport. If you're new to the show, I'm the founder and executive director of Age Out Angels. We provide one-to-one mentors to vulnerable youth for the purpose of coordinating the care and services that they need to thrive. We try to help young people avoid some of the horrible pitfalls that they're likely to face when they don't have a proper safety net. This program is brought to you every week at the same time, courtesy of Doc G, William Saunders, Ruben Rodriguez, all the fine people here at Hamilton Radio who allow us to use this airtime. Ruben is on the big board tonight. Robin is producing. So good, as always, to have both of you with me. And so good to have you listening from your computers or in your cars in New Jersey, around the country, wherever you are. We're glad you're with us tonight. And please take a moment, if you're looking at us on Facebook or YouTube, and hit all the buttons for me. We need you to like and subscribe and share, because what we're going to talk about tonight and every week when we do this show is relevant to every single geographic region. It's going to be a little bit of a different show tonight. I'll tell you about it in just a second, but it needs to be shared. So please, please, please share it, like it, subscribe to it, and you'll learn over time that this is where you come to get the whole truth when it comes to child welfare and community betterment. And I promise what you'll hear tonight is not going to be on the nightly news, because tonight we're going to take a special look at what it means to be a young person in today's job market, how you have to train for it, how different levels of education and training equate to upgrades in earnings potential. How is a young person going to survive 15, 20, 30 years from now? That's what's important. So with that in mind, do you guys know that there's a push to a 4-day work week? That sounds like it could be fun. We're going to talk a little bit about that and how can youth earn a livable wage and what does the new workforce look like and the 17 jobs you can get without a high school diploma. And my guests tonight are Peg Gould, the Director of Community Education at Mercer County Community College here in New Jersey, and Ray Agliata. Am I pronouncing it correctly, Ray?
You got it.
Okay, Ray Agliata. He is the career training instructor. Ray is developing a training package, which he's going to share with us tonight. Because when we think about what it was like when we all went to work, it's a different world right now. And B, the children growing up are different than we were. And they may need to learn some things that we didn't need to learn. And we maybe needed to learn some things that they don't have to learn. Good news, the Bridges to Employment program goes on for yet another year. Yay, Peg is my partner in that. Ray is key to that as well. In the new Career Super Center that Peg is putting together with Ray and Tracy Davis as people who are helping our students not just graduate from high school, but actually get along and find careers where they can earn a livable wage. That's the goal of the Bridges to Employment. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, I haven't graduated high school yet, I'll do Bridges to Employment, maybe I'll graduate. No, that graduation is not where this ends. Graduation is where the Bridges to Employment program begins. And if you want to meet me in person and talk about it, and also Peg will be with me this coming Thursday, April 14th, we'll be exhibiting and presenting the Bridges program at the umbrella annual event called Passport to Education. So if you plan on going to that conference, please, please, please meet us there. You know, what's funny is that when you see young people who come from a trauma background, and if you've been in that kind of a background and you haven't been in school for maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years, it can be hard. It can be really hard to get back in the flow. And I just want people to know that we understand that. That's why we exist. We exist because there are children out there who just don't have a high school diploma and could have it. There maybe were reasons that that they didn't get it at the time, and I'm being prompted that, why did I think that this was coming up this Thursday? But it's not. It's in 2 weeks, the event at Umbrella, April 14th. For some reason, I got it in my head that it's coming up this week. But anyway, if you've been in a trauma situation and you're coming back to school after 4 or 5 years, please understand that this is a place where we understand what you're going through. And feel free to learn more about the Bridges to Employment program. You can call me directly, 609-306-0821, or email to greg@ageoutangels.org. I want to talk for just a second about the 4-day work week, because this plays into something that I developed about, 40 years ago, maybe, when I was tooling around with the calendar. And I thought, what if we did a 4-day work week, 2 days off, right? So there would actually be more weeks to the year, but every 4 days you would get 2 days off. Well, a group of progressive Democrats introduced a bill in the House of Representatives that would make the 4-day work week the new standard under federal law. While that proposal is unlikely to become law, the fact that it exists at all is a signal of momentum for the idea of shaving off a day from the standard 5-day work week. Over the past few years, several trials have been conducted in countries around the world to judge the impact of the shorter work week. This isn't just an idea. They're actually trying it in places. Most of those experiments have ended with rave reviews. the largest trial to date involving 61 companies in the United Kingdom, released results late last month showing that adopting a 32-hour work week without cutting pay reduced employees' stress levels, improved their job satisfaction, and generally made them feel happier. Critically, most companies reported no loss of productivity. In the end, 56 of the companies involved said they would stick with a 4-day work week after the trial had ended. Now, experiments with shorter weeks have taken different forms. Some companies have had everyone work Monday through Thursday, whereas others have staggered schedules so a portion of their staff is on the clock every day. Another model, which recently became an option in Belgium, involves giving workers the ability to work 4 10-hour days so they have an additional day off. And that's the basic Amazon model, is 4 10s. The 4-day work week has gained new energy in the past few years, thanks in part to massive disruptions of the pandemic and the tight labor market that has empowered workers. But the concept is not new. Do you want to hear how long this goes back? This is amazing. The 5-day work week was actually enshrined into federal law in the 1930s, and that ended an era that often saw workers just being abused. They had 14-hour shifts, 6 days a week. Many predicted that shortening to 5 days was only the start. In 1956, then Vice President Richard Nixon said the 4-day work week would be a reality in the not too distant future. Nixon was wrong about so many things. In the late 1970s, a major labor union president said a shorter work week was absolutely inevitable. None of it happened. Today, though, the 40-hour work week is still the legal standard, and an estimated 35 million Americans spend significantly more time on the job than that, with 9 million people working 60 or more hours per week. Now, backers of the 4-day work week say the idea is a win-win for workers and businesses. Employees would see their quality of life improve dramatically through reduced stress, less burnout, more time to spend with friends and families. Employers would receive the benefits of a happier workforce that would be equally as productive. Some argue that women would be especially helped by a shorter work week since they are more likely to deal with the burden and professional consequences of caring for children. But skeptics say the success of the 4-day work week at a few dozen largely white-collar companies is hardly an indication that it would be successful across the entire economy. They argue that shorter weeks simply aren't feasible for a huge share of the workforce in industries like agriculture, construction, and service. Others say many businesses will struggle to survive or be forced to jack up prices if they are suddenly forced to reduce their workers' output by 20% without cutting their labor costs at all. There are also concerns that some workers would end up under more stress than they are already if asked to maintain their current output in a condensed time window. While it's unlikely to be adopted as new federal standard anytime soon, more and more companies are expected to experiment with a 4-day work week in the near future. Those trials could provide more evidence to bolster or potentially undercut the case for shortening the work week. And with that happy introduction, let's say hi to my guest tonight. Peg Gould is the Director of Community Education at Mercer County Community College. She's been here more times than I can count, and I need to get her one of those jackets with the numbers that the number will have to be on a flip chart because it keeps changing. Peg, welcome back to the show. It's good to see you here.
Thanks, Greg.
All right. And you brought along a friend, I see. This is Ray Agliata. Ray is the career training instructor for the new college career super center that you're developing at the school. Ray, welcome. This is the first time on the Age Out Angels Radio Hour.
Hey, Greg, how are you? Thanks for having me on tonight.
It's great to have you. I see you got the cool mic.
Yeah, it's just want to look cool.
Well, it's effective, my friend. It's effective.
Thank you.
Peg, well, let's start with you. You know, as soon as I thought about the 4-day work week, and I started thinking about the children that we see every day. it made me think, wow, what a great idea. Because when people only have Saturday and Sunday, then they have to weave all of the other things that happen in life into their, like doctor's appointments, right? All those things have to take place during your work schedule. You have to take actual time off from those things. And I thought, wow, I wonder if our children would totally benefit from that. They would learn to schedule things on one day. Think it would help them?
I think, Greg, that a 4-day work week will become more of the norm for our next generation than it would be for any of our generation who are currently, on this program. And I think inevitably, like first, we'll see, kind of the sugar rush. Everybody will be able to be free to make appointments for Friday or whatever day they have off, and it will be great. But then, it turns into just a bigger weekend where, oh, no, I need a doctor on my day off. Oh, well, I want a doctor on one of the days I work. So I think ultimately that pendulum will kind of swing back over. But to be honest, a changed work environment is what our young people will be experiencing. Things that any of us, again, have lived and known as reality for our careers is changing. And as we are phasing out into retirement, the next group will come up, and the next group is very guarded about that separation of work and life. So I think how we're trying to fit it into our mindset, alternate working ways will just be more usual for our next students, for our next kids.
Right. The thing that will be a dramatic change from what we know, that'll just be the norm that they grew up with. And yeah, and I can certainly see how, like when you're looking at this, you're looking at it from the point of view of how most people will probably use it. And the people that they're singling out, who would really benefit, like, for example, single mothers with children, right?
Right.
That group may find it really valuable in that regard. They're, people who are tied in that way, just not having to pay childcare for a day.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all the childcare companies go out of business.
Although, if we play that into a K-12 situation, Greg, will they be able to funnel their learning of 5 days into a 4-day opportunity? What will that mean for K-12? And that's a very powerful union, and that's a very powerful voice the K-12 set. Yeah. And learning is already extremely accelerated. Kids are learning now in kindergarten what we learned in 3rd grade. So now if you're going to push things even more condensed, what's sacrificed on the back end in terms of 10th, 11th, 12th grade? And then will we run the risk of burning kids out at a younger age? And then if the school week isn't going to go to 4 days, what does that mean then? Kids are absent on Friday because mom or dad is off too, and that's the day we have doctor's appointments, or that's the day when we went on our family weekends, or that's the day when mom was off, so gee, I didn't have to go to school either. So I think there's a lot of other details that need to be put into consideration than just four days of work and 1 day off.
Absolutely true. Absolutely. Ray, how do you see the work life for the young people who are coming up now? How do you view that?
Well, with regards to the 4 days, I have a little bit of experience with the 4-day work week. So when I owned a bail bond company in the past, we had all the guys work 4 12-hour days, and then they had 4 days off. So it constantly rotated. So sometimes you'd work, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but then other times as it rotated through, you'd work, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So it made it fair. It constantly rotated with everybody. 12-hour day is a long day, but you also have 4 days off in a row, which is pretty cool too. During COVID, with my construction company, we made everybody work 4 10-hour days. And it gave everybody either Monday or Friday off, depending on, which group you were in. Um, and I thought that was a good experience too. I think you're going to see 4 day work weeks. I also think you're going to see a lot of flex time. That's where I think you'll see a big change in our generation versus the next generation, where they're going to say, hey, you could work in the office 3 days a week and you can, work from home 2 days a week. I think that's a big change. And a lot of jobs you're not even going to see in the office anymore. And, or very minimally come in for your, once a week meetings or whatever the case may be. So I think that's the difference that you're going to see in how the workforce looks at their time off. Now that's my opinion. And I think at the end of the day, as more and more things are be able to be done from home, I think you'll see that.
It makes sense. I mean, that's very logical. Having worked in a lot of different corporations, especially in around the New York area, it's hard for me to believe that people who own or run, multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar corporations and pay for office space are in the long run going to think it's okay if you're not sitting there. You know what I mean? Like, they're paying for that space. They're not paying for that space to be empty, at least in their minds.
I think you'll look at them leasing less space too. And I think that's what's going to be interesting. So maybe a company now is leasing 100,000 square feet of office space. Well, if they go to flex time, they only need to lease 50,000 square feet of office space, and they save a lot of money. So, but these companies are caught right now. They're caught in a change. It's like the shopping mall. You know what I mean? Where like not as many people go to the mall anymore.
It's a great analogy. Yeah.
So that's where I think that's where I think you'll see some changes with that. But that takes time. Right now, everybody just wants everybody to go back to the office. But I think over time, you'll see a lot of flex.
Absolutely. So how long have you been working on what you're doing here with workforce development?
So owning my own businesses, I've done a lot of this employee development. And I've always thought it was extremely important for do employee education, whether it was, entry level person or somebody who's like as a laborer, all the way to someone who's higher up in a company or in the C-suite. So I've always done a lot of development. I also, at one point in my life, worked for a company where I made training videos for the construction training that we did, and that was a fun experience too. So. But that's, I've always looked at what I teach is a lot of soft skills. And that's the class that, Peg has me developing. And I've taught soft skills for a long time, things like leadership and those types of things like that, attitude, communication, and really worked hard on developing these skills as well as hard skills, like how to use a hammer, in employees. And I think that as you develop employees, they stay longer, they're happier in coming to work, and they also gives them something to not everybody is going to be entry level forever. So it gives somebody that training, gives somebody the ability to strive towards something, towards a goal.
I know when I was their age, I always had these jobs where you had to sort of learn by osmosis. You just had to sort of watch someone who was there longer than you figure out what they did, right? You've had jobs like that too, right, Peg?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it seems like training is really critical. People have a defined set of skills. They have to be trained to operate in a certain way. And that's sort of the on-the-job training. Now, what you're talking about, Ray, are soft skills that I think we used to learn at home.
I think to a degree. I think that what we did in this class and what I've been doing in the past is we identified 10 soft skills. And in these 10 skills, some of them you think, well, that's common sense, right? Whereas others, I think there's a little more to it. And it also depends on how deeply you want to dive into into these soft skills as well, too. So with the class for Mercer, what we've done is think TikTok, right? Where it's like a fast hit and the students learn soft skills. So first of all, what are soft skills and what are hard skills? Hard skills are these skills that you physically need to do your job. So, how to use a hammer and a saw if you're a contractor, how to do taxes if you're an accountant. Those are your hard skills. The difference between hard skills and soft skills are things like attitude, your appearance, your confidence. Those are things that are soft skills. And a lot of these things are things that human resources people and business owners struggle with. So a really good one is attendance to think about, showing up on time and actually being there when you're there. So these were things that as I've trained people over the years in doing these things that you look to develop. And just like you said, they're common sense things, but in the generation that we're moving into, there's some type of breakdown. I don't know what that breakdown is exactly, but I think that the work group coming up now needs to learn how to show up on time and how to be there when they're there, and the importance of the right attitude and the importance of appearance. These are all soft skills. You know what I mean? And
Indeed, yeah.
I think that's important.
Yeah, well, you see this common factor a lot of people who, speaking of show up on time, of the more common behavior that you see is don't show up, then a day or two or a few hours or whatever later after the fact say why it wasn't your fault. Okay, that's
very true.
That's what you're trying to turn around there, my friend.
And it's important. It's so like, I would never think to be late. And if I was going to be late for something, like if I'm running late in the morning, I text Peg and say, hey, I may have nothing going on that morning at work, but I'm going to shoot a text and say, hey, I'm running 15 minutes late, or, whatever the case may be. It's like a courtesy. Same thing with appearance. It's like, dress for your role and what you're doing, or dress for the role that you want to be. And I always use the example of a server in a restaurant. If that server is not dressed properly, or their apron's dirty, or whatever the case may be, like, they don't have any pride in what they're doing. And then it makes you think, well, do they really care about you? And that's another soft skill. And these are things that you would think, like, don't keep your apron, balled up in the back of your car waiting for the next shift. How you present yourself is important. But these are all things that when I left the house, my mother, a lot of these things, at least these basic ones, my mother would say to me, always look your best, or, I worked at ShopRite, always dress in your uniform the right way, or whatever. This was back in the day when I was in high school, and it always stuck with me. But, I think that there's a breakdown with some of these things. And I think that's where human resources and training really come into effect. What we want to do is give these guys a snapshot and then set them up so when they do go to their career, I don't want people to just have jobs. I want them to have careers. And that's what we're doing at Mercer, is when they get there, they're, they know some of these soft skills. They know what human resources and their supervisor is going to expect. And then what things can they do to stand out above maybe someone who hasn't taken this course or who hasn't thought about soft skills.
Oh, it's an interesting way to put it. It's what would be a difference maker if 5 people are trying to get the same job.
Yep.
Right. You're telling them what they would do to be the difference maker.
And that was something that Peg focused on when we created this class. We're actually giving people like a soft skills certification. They're going to get a digital badge that says they've taken and completed this class. So I thought that was very, very important, that when they go to get a job, they're already a step ahead of people who maybe haven't done this yet.
Yeah. And they don't realize that there's a secondary gain of this, which is by learning soft skills from you, they may leave a job with a reference. And I see so many young people getting hired in jobs thinking that they're going to save enough money and get their own place, burn the bridge as they go out the door of the job, and then go to get an apartment, and they look at the application and it says you need 3 references. And some of them even say you need a reference from an employer. Right? To do that, and they end up not getting it because of those soft skills. So how many modules are you planning on putting together? I know we have a couple that we're going to look at tonight, but we have a total
of 10.
All right.
10 soft skills that we focus on. And like I said, there's many soft skills and there's many different levels of how deep do you want to dive into these. We picked 10 that I think a person coming through and out of Mercer to their career would benefit from. So just for the 10 soft skills are attitude, attendance, appearance, confidence, leadership skills, communication skills, work ethic and self-motivation, flexibility and adaptability, teamwork and problem solving. And, when I picked some of these, the idea was, what are people who are hiring looking for? And then what would make our person stand out who took the class? And this is not like a 3-credit, we're going to dive deep into the meaning of leadership. It's, what makes a good leader, and giving an example of that, or what makes for good communication, or how to accept criticism well. That's what, when I developed the class and talked to Peg about it, that's what we were trying to do with our students.
Great. Now, Ruben, we're going to queue up the first video. It's about 2 minutes long, I think, maybe 2.5 minutes long. It's about attitude, and it's called Attitude Slideshow, right? Ruben, are you with me?
I'm here, Greg. Yep.
Okay. Could we get that first
video
queued?
Yep.
So with attitude, I'm sorry, Peg, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, even, a lot of these, it's all very subjective. Even something like attendance. Attendance isn't just being there and being off the phone and not really paying attention. It also has to do with showing up on time, and that's time management too. But I mean, have a doctor's appointment and you don't show up on time, you're charged for that appointment, even though you weren't there. So a lot of these things are actually common sense type of things, but knowledge that you need to be able to implement and be aware of to go forward in your life.
And you know what else? I think there's also a gain here, because the idea here is you can't like teach someone to have a whole new attitude in a 3-minute slideshow, but you're putting the idea in their head.
Right. It's like driving school.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and I think it's, if they hear it a number of times in a number of different formats and media presentations and that sort of thing, eventually it'll start to sink in. That I think that lots of times you have to have 2 different attitudes. I mean, I know when we were high schoolers and working, we had one attitude with our friends and a completely different attitude when we were getting paid like $1.25 an hour to work in the boardwalk of Atlantic City. But still, you had to have a different attitude. You had to be more professionally. So yeah, I guess you have to have 2 different attitudes. Anyway, let's play this video, Ruben, and hear what Ray has to say about attitude.
Okay, here we go.
Your attitude is made up of a few different parts. Everyone has heard the phrase, you have a good attitude, or conversely, that person has a bad attitude. Anyone can have a positive or negative attitude, but there is certainly more to it than just that. Let's start with the basics. What does attitude actually mean, and just how important is this foundational soft skill? Attitude is a way of thinking, feeling, and behaving that reflects how a person approaches the world around them. What's even more important is that it can have a powerful impact on those around you and how others perceive and interact with you and everyone around them. Your attitude is contagious. It not only affects you, but your coworkers, team, friends, and even your family. Realizing just how important attitude can be, it's important to learn what positive and negative attitudes are, how they affect everyone around you, and what you can do to develop this essential soft skill. What is a positive attitude? In simplest terms, a positive attitude is a mindset that helps you see the best in yourself and the world around you, with the goal of making the most of every opportunity that comes your way. Conversely, a negative attitude means a mindset that approaches life with frustration, unhappiness, or even despair. Just like a positive attitude can be uplifting, a negative one can bring you down. It can also bring your team and everyone around you down as well, leading to everyone's poor performance. So now let's take a few minutes to watch an interview I hosted with Pratiti Pathak on the topic of attitude. Pratiti is a life coach who works with clients on everything from home, work, life balance to money and relationship skills. She is also a successful realtor and entrepreneur who owned a painting company before becoming a sought-after coach. Check out her podcast, Unpacking Brain Drama, where she talks about real life experiences, challenges, and obstacles. When the video is done, continue on and complete the short exercise.
We're not going to make our listeners do the quiz, right? Okay, so Ruben, if you could cue up the next one, which
yes,
is
I'm sorry. I was actually waiting for the other video to pop up.
Yeah.
One moment, please.
And Greg, what our plan was to bring in like an expert like Pratiti to talk about. I interviewed each person on all these different soft skills.
Yeah.
And Pratiti was a person that is a great coach and a friend of mine. And our goal was to, bring in somebody that could really address each soft skill. And that was the idea behind these quick interviews.
Fantastic. So let's hear what she has to say about attitude.
Because it is how we choose to think about any situation. So whatever work you have to do, whether it's your relationships or things outside of us in the world, we have a choice on how we want to think about it, right? Whether it's the news or more importantly, when it comes to how we want to think about ourselves. So our attitude, we can say our attitude is what creates our altitude. But what we are really saying is whatever we focus on expands. It's important to have a positive attitude, but when you think about your attitude and making it positive, what does that actually look like? And what it really looks like is taking a situation, even if it's a small part of what you're perceiving as a bad situation, there is some part of it that is good. Focus on that. Now, I'm not saying have some distorted view on what the actual situation is, but when you can focus on even the smallest of a positive part of a situation, what you're doing is you're increasing your vibrational energy. And when you vibrate at a high level, that's what you also attract to you. So the more positivity you have about things, the more you focus on the positive parts of anything, whether it's another person, yourself, your own situation, somebody else's situation, something that's going on at work, you will increase your level of positivity around you because you will continue to attract the positive parts of things, and you will no longer see things in the negative context that it might be. So when you vibrate at a high energy, the rest of the things around you, other people and the rest of the world vibrate at a high level around you. So improving your mental health is definitely your choice.
Wow, I I couldn't help but thinking when I saw this slideshow, and she just reinforced, what I was thinking is that attitude, that positive attitude, those two components of seeing yourself as your best, and then using your time productively, right? I thought, wow, it's very, very hard for the children that I work with to see themselves, see the best version of themselves. I think a lot of that's a big hurdle
Greg,
to overcome.
when I first started, professional work,
Yeah.
I had a mentor, and she said something that I've carried with me all of these years later, that if you're in front of people, whether it's students in a classroom, people in a meeting of some type, or even coworkers in the field somewhere, you should always dress your very best, even if that is coveralls and gloves because you're working with cement, or a suit or whatever. Because the truth of the fact is, the people who are looking at you for X number of hours a day. I mean, a very easy thing to do is translate that into a classroom situation. As a teacher, as an administrator in education, it's what are people looking at me for all day, every day? And do I want those people, whoever they are, to see me in a pair of shredded jeans, some walk-aheads, a shower cap, and a grungy t-shirt? What kind of respect am I showing to that audience? And it's a matter of, what do I want people to think of me? And it's a matter of me emanating out the type of respect that I have for the students in the classroom, the constituents or the stakeholders who come into the office on any given day. And in fact, I just was speaking with one of our foster youth today, Greg, talking about our career exploration event tomorrow at Mercer County Community College in Trenton. And I encouraged her, I said, dress with respect for your audience. You don't know who you will be in front of. They will remember you if you come dressed in walk-aheads and shredded, but they will remember you more positively if you come dressed for the job you want to have. And that's what I think that our soft skills program really underscores. Treat other people with the same level of dignity that you would hope that they extend to you. And it sounds, so very old-fashioned and passé. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But it's such an important thing to be able to do. Show up on time, because you don't like when your doctor or your child gets out of school late or something, the same way that your school doesn't appreciate if you don't come late, or your child doesn't come late, or your employer. I mean, these are things that, employers around the county of Mercer, Greg, have stated again and again. Leave the hard skill training to us, because we know what they do. We know what we need to have you do for our job. But you take care of things like soft skills. And out of this, the soft skills course has really taken its foundation. Now, sometimes, too, we have students who come in and they are where they're at in their life. And so what we have been able to do through our career center, our super center of careers and career readiness, is not just give them the academic hard skills training, combine that with the soft skills training. And it's one thing if you can talk the talk, but if you need to look like you can walk that walk too, We have a large clothes closet in our department, and we have availed students to no end with everything from slacks or skirts, dresses, suits, collared shirts, belts, shoes, everything, accessories. We're able to outfit them so that when they go someplace, they look like the job that they want to get. The clothes are free. We ask no questions. We have them in a variety of sizes, variety of seasons, for a variety of jobs too. So it's not just, oh, well, I really am having an interview for a warehouse or a waste management position, or, you know, a forklift job. So, gee, how great am I to wear a 3-piece suit in there? No, that it's appropriate to wear a respectable pair of slacks, and if you're a gentleman, a collar shirt, or if you're a female, you know, a blouse. So it's possible. We help to facilitate even down to the clothes on their back.
And we'll give them a bite to eat too before they go. But listen, people, if you're not in Trenton, New Jersey, if you're somewhere else, I would advise you to call like Salvation Army or Dress for Success in your area. They're all over the place. And just tell them the situation, that you're working with a student who needs interview wear. And yeah, I think it's amazing that we're doing an in-person job fair tomorrow. And I'll tell you why I think it's amazing. Because you can't meet employers anymore. If you want to get a job, you have to fill out an online application, and then some robot, you know, applies a rubric to your application and decides if you deserve to see a human being. You can't do that now. Here in a live job fair, whether it's sponsored by us or anyone else, anywhere in the country, anytime, if you can go to a real job fair, as Peg says, dress properly, and definitely go to it. Meet people in person. You can sell yourself in person in a way that you cannot do when it's just all internet applications and robots making decisions. So yeah, tomorrow at 10, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right? Is it 10 to 1?
Right.
We have a job fair. A bunch of employers are going to be out there. I'm looking forward to it. I want to talk to them myself and find out what are things that I can tell our kids. I realized the other day, in fact, you could be a truck driver without a high school diploma and make reasonably good money. But then the problem, of course, is most of the children that we represent are urban dwelling children who don't have a driver's license.
Right.
So, you know, going from nothing to a 53-foot truck with 18 wheels might be a bit much for them to chew. Ray, let's get to your next video, okay? The next one is on, I believe it's communication skills.
So it was the same plan, Greg, with all of these. It's like a 2-minute, you get to listen to me talk, and then you start to lose interest. And then all of a sudden you get an expert that comes in there and you know, really wants to talk about that skill. And communication skills is just vital to all aspects of your life. Soft skills with your family, to your job, to, you know, whatever you're doing. It's very, very vital.
Okay, so Ruben, if you have the next one queued up, this is communication slideshow.
All right, hold one moment.
And in communication, Greg, one thing we spent some time learning about and talking about is how to give and accept criticism well. And I think that that's key, because a lot of times a student or an employee or wherever can't take criticism well. And that person giving criticism may not be giving criticism well in a proper manner as well either. So this soft skill, we touch on it, but this is an example of something that if you really wanted to dive deep on the communication soft skill, you know, criticism is key to be able to take as well as to give properly.
Absolutely true. People are very sensitive nowadays too.
Let's move on to our next soft skill, Communication skills. Communication skills are made up of two different parts: the more commonly thought of verbal communication skills and the less thought of, but just as important, nonverbal communication skills. The easiest and most obvious of the two, verbal, basically means communicating in a clear and concise manner, being easy to understand and easy to follow in both written communications like text and emails, as well as when speaking about a subject. Here's an example. Have you ever spoken to a person or listened to a professor who goes on and on and on so deeply into a subject, and it either left you feeling confused or inferior or literally puts you to sleep? Well, that's an example of poor communication skills. Knowing your audience, speaking clearly, concisely, and with proper tone, whether it be with one person on a job site or to a classroom of students, makes for a quick proficiency of this soft skill. Nonverbal soft skills, on the other hand, are a bit more difficult. Why? Because sometimes we don't even realize that our nonverbal skills are lacking. There are many nonverbal cues, but I believe the following four to be most important: gestures, eye contact, facial expressions, and body movement. Let's start with gestures. Gestures can help push your point across the finish line, or gestures can make people not like you. Using your hands to show excitement or to tell someone to back off are great nonverbal indicators that you can use to get your point across without even speaking. Whereas pointing at someone in anger could basically just hurt their feelings. Eye contact can help you engage either a single person, a room full of people, or even a country in the case of President Obama. The former president relied on eye contact throughout his speeches to help everyone feel like he was speaking directly to them, even though he may be addressing millions of people. Eye contact is engaging and respectful as well. Facial expressions actually show others what we are thinking without us even saying a word. Our facial expressions can convey surprise, shock, disgust, or even a lack of interest. And finally, body movement. Body movement is a little different than gestures. Have you ever seen someone standing with their arms crossed? What type of nonverbal message do you think this person is sending? Do they want you to come up and speak with them? Or are they saying, hey, I'm giving off a message of just leave me alone? Your body movement is an essential part of nonverbal language. With all this in mind, let's take a few minutes to watch an interview I hosted with Carrie Mandel about the importance of communication skills. A graduate of Wheelock College with a master's degree in special education, Carrie is an ultra athlete, personal trainer, entrepreneur, and owner of Empower Yoga in Ewing, New Jersey. Carrie is one of less than 50 women in the entire world who have completed the World Marathon Challenge, running 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. When the video is done, continue on and complete the short quiz. Let's give the quiz.
Let's give the quiz. How many marathons did she run in 7 days?
So I think constructive criticism is really important. I think that, we're not perfect. There's definitely areas and things that we can all work on. And I think it's understanding your strengths and understanding your weaknesses. And if there is an area of weakness or something that you hope to get better at, getting feedback or getting criticism is only going to help you get better in those areas. So I certainly think that it's important to get that strength, and acquire that effort and work. As far as myself and my employees, I often have to give a lot of constructive criticism. I start to try to think about a compliment sandwich where I tell them, kind of what they're doing well, areas that they can improve, and then kind of end it with something they're doing well, so that people don't, are taken back by that. Just reminding, folks again that, hey, these are the things that we're doing to help and to improve our work. Our training, our life, whatever the case may be. So I think it's important, and I think it's an essential part of everyday life. As a boss, I need to be able to communicate appropriately with my staff. so that I can get my point across. We can resolve any issues that may come up and that we're all on the same page.
Did it freeze by design? Is that the end?
I don't think it's the end, but I don't know. I'll be honest
Yeah,
with you.
yeah, yes, that's the
I
end.
don't remember.
It's a minute and 18 seconds.
Is that how it ended? I might have sent you the cut where I didn't edit her. Like, she's going to see this and probably come to my house and try to hurt me.
She's going to beat you up, yes.
She can too. She could.
If I were you, I'd move immediately.
That's hilarious.
But, you know, Greg, I want to say about our soft skills course is, you know, Ray and I consulted quite a bit at the beginning. And from there, you know, I just handed it and said, you know, go and do what it is that you want to do with it. Check in and let me know, you know, some updates every now and again. And I kept it that loose because I really wanted Ray to have that freedom to be able to put together something that he kind of owned, so to speak, but something that was so totally unique and different, but yet relevant for our learners. And so what we have is this 10 module course, which all together is what, like 70 minutes or something, Ray? It's like, you know, it's not 70 hours, it's 70 minutes. And Ray has done an outstanding job, not just of podcast opening each skill and giving a little bit of backfill information about it, but of finding individuals who are out working in the field, who know firsthand the importance of these soft skills and how it plays out in the workforce. So it's not just me saying it as director of a program, or Ray saying it as a teacher in the program, or you saying it as a nonprofit agency, but really as employers from all different walks of employment, speaking around each individual soft skill and the way they are important to their workplace. I think that just is absolutely incredible and phenomenal, because it gives our adult students the opportunity to hear firsthand from somebody who is out there doing it what is important and why it's important.
Yeah, to hear it from the hiring person is certainly valuable. Now, you ready to be depressed? Here are the 17 jobs. Here are the 17 jobs you can get without a high school diploma. Oh, goodness. From the least paying, it looks like they're arranged from the least paying to the highest paying. So the least paying job is barista. Barista makes and serves coffee, tea, and foods like sandwiches, muffins, and cookies. Barista also handles customer service and keeps the restaurant clean. $13.73 an hour. That's what you get for being on your feet all day, cleaning up, being part-time psychologist. Personal shopper. This is interesting. The national average salary for a personal shopper is $13.94 an hour. You would help customers by providing advice, guidance, and buying services. Now, in order to be a personal shopper, you have to have advanced knowledge of products, trends, and services. You got to be like totally on top of. I guess I would think practically a wardrobe consultant in order to do this. And how much do you get paid? $14 an hour.
See.
For $14.16 an hour, you can get an extra 16 cents if you abandon your silly pipe dreams of being a personal shopper and just become a custodian. Custodians make sure that office buildings, schools, churches, and sports parks are kept clean. You can do that for $14.16 an hour. Now, if you want to go up from there because you've been cleaning an office building, hey, why not be a housekeeper? That's $14.29 an hour. So as you see, you're inching your way up to $15 an hour without a high school education, a high school diploma. You know what a housekeeper does. You could be a server in a restaurant. $15.21 an hour is the average that a server makes. So we're getting into that $15 area, and you can sort of support yourself with a $15 an hour job. As long as you work 80 hours a week, you'll be able to get by. Security guards. Now, this says security guards make $15.25 an hour. What I've heard is security guards actually earning less than that. I've heard security guards earning more like 12 or 13 an hour. You know what a security guard does, so you can do that for $15.25 an hour. You could be a florist for $15.55 an hour. It amazes me when I read these things and I see, like, then I'll go to a place and I'll be waited on by a young person. And the young person, like, especially in a restaurant, will be like ridiculously intelligent. They'll memorize your order. They'll bring everything will come out exactly right, the way you ask for it. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing here? Why are you working for so little money in this environment? And of course, I guess it would be considered rude from a communication point of view, to say, hey, what are you doing here? Why are you throwing your life away in this restaurant? You could be a customer support representative. Now, it's helpful if English is not your primary language, but okay, if you grew up in America and you speak English, you still might be able to get this job. Customer support representatives, you're one of the person who probably can work at home. A lot of these are work at home jobs now. And people will call you up with their problems and you'll fix them, and you get $16 an hour to do that. So you could probably work about 70 hours a week and earn enough money at $16 an hour just to get by. I mean, 8-9 years from now, when inflation hits again and your wage doesn't go up, you're screwed. But don't worry about that now. Telemarketer. You could be a telemarketer. Telemarketers do cold calling. It's funny the way this is written. Telemarketers contact potential customers by phone to offer goods or services. Telemarketers cold call. They get lists and they cold call people who yell, scream, curse, and hang up on them. I never thought of this. Number 10 on the list, for $16.54 an hour, you can be a butcher.
I thought they made more.
Butcher used to be a real occupation. You apprenticed in a butcher shop for a while, and then you either bought that butcher shop when the owner, passed on, or you bought your own store, and you became a businessman. Now I guess it's probably commoditized to the point where a certain amount of butcher training has to be, acquired to make the same cut on the meat as it goes by on the conveyor belt. $16.54 an hour. You could make $16.88 being a shuttle driver. They transport passengers and luggage along a predetermined route. No thinking involved. $16.88 an hour. Landscaper. Now, I thought they made less than this, $16.90 an hour. But that's backbreaking work. And it's seasonal. You got to work 100 hours a week when the season's right, and then nothing at all. You won't get paid when it's wrong. Now, the preferred side hustle of all the comedians I know is dog walker. Dog walkers make $17.13 an hour. Do I need to explain what a dog walker does? I don't think so. A delivery driver makes $17.68 an hour. Now, that's not like a Taco Bell delivery or a Pizza Hut delivery. This is delivery drivers pick up and drop off a wide range of items. This was what they call the last mile of delivery.
Right.
Construction worker makes $17.83 an hour. Don't they make more than that, Ray?
Yeah, and it really depends on your hard skill set. But yes,
Yeah.
On average, they do.
Yeah, see what they're talking about here is, so this would be sort of like maybe an entry level, right? They remove debris, right? So $17.83 an hour, you're on cleanup duty, right? They remove debris, build scaffolding, load and unload building materials, and operate heavy machinery.
No.
That
They do a lot of that other support
realm,
work.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's more support kind of work. Decent carpenter's making $30 an hour easy in New Jersey.
Hmm. Well, now for this though, no education is required. In order to be a carpenter, do you need an education?
Yes, you do, as a matter of fact, and that's the next class that I'm working on with PEG, or it's the Super Six of construction. So, which are
Yeah.
what you need to do to be in each of these trades.
I got to tell you, I was working with a boy once who went to a middle class school, and we were working on his Eagle Scout project, and he had to build something. And he showed me the plans, and I said, okay, get the wood and the tape measure, and let's start measuring this off. And he said, I'm no good at measuring.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think you got to know your numbers to be a carpenter. Nannies make $20.97 an hour. I would totally, that's number 16. I would totally be a nanny before I would be like a worker in a daycare center, because I don't think they even made this list. $20.97 an hour. They live with the family. Amazing. And number 17, an automotive technician. Now, see, to take the automotive technician training course at Job Corps, you have to have a high school diploma.
That one doesn't make a lot of sense either.
No, no, not an automotive technician. They want you to have more on the ball and have better computer skills.
Yeah, maybe an auto mechanic you might not need a high school diploma for, but an auto tech, because cars are so computerized now, you really need to know technology to work on a car.
Yeah.
And as you're reading down that list, Greg, I'm realizing, there's absolutely nothing wrong with those jobs. If you have young children and you have the means, then why not pay someone to come in and be a nanny? Or, how often do you go to the grocery store and you choose the cashier checkout instead of the self-service checkout? Because, people are dependent on one another. And I'm a big proponent of, no matter what the job, an honest day's work is an honest day's pay. And if you take personal pride in that work, whatever that work is, that job, and you do it to the best of your ability, and it makes your life for you, then who is anybody else to say that these jobs are less worthwhile than others? Although I hear what you're saying about, with even being an educator myself, with education, really what opens up are additional opportunities that maybe if your love is driving and transportation and logistics, distribution, all of that, well, maybe a high school equivalency will make the difference to have your CDL license, commercial driver's license, or maybe you have a choice to work for a delivery company who is delivering packages. Or maybe you might have the option to be the driver of a limousine, or the driver of a bus, or the driver, a train engineer, or a New Jersey Transit, SEPTA, some type of driver like that. If you are really, really like high powered and those are just not your thing anymore, you can always save up your money and go to flight school. And then you become an airline pilot, which is really nothing more than the person who drives the plane. So, and then there's all kinds of planes, from commercial flights to cargo flights to all kinds of things, flying for the military. So there's jobs at every level for people with all different skill sets. And as long as you keep your focus on making yourself into the better person in your own eyes, as long as it's not hurting others or yourself or breaking the law, then pursue that goal, pursue that job, be the best at what you can be, because therein lies your opportunity. And there's another adage: do the job you love and you never work a day in your life. And that's important. There is nothing wrong with any of those jobs. But where education makes a difference is because oftentimes it signals to an employer you gave up on yourself or you gave up something without finishing.
Right.
And that speaks very loudly.
You know, I will tell you that I got offered a job as a manager one time at a place where I was terrible as a worker. I mean, I was just awful at doing that job. And they offered me a management position. And I had to say, I just had to ask, so why would you want me to be the manager? We just passed over like 8 people for me to be a manager, and they all do the job better than I do. What would make me be the manager? And you know what they said to me? They said, because you're the only guy on the crew who can read and write. Education. He showed me their employment applications. Their signatures were marked with X's. A whole bunch of guys who couldn't. It was hard labor job, you know. And I said no, thank you. But there, you know, offered a job as a manager simply because I had more education than anybody else in the room, not because I was necessarily qualified to do that job, but just because I had more education. I am so sorry we're out of time. In fact, we're way over. Ruben is probably angry with me right now. You guys have to come back when you develop more modules, because I didn't even have a chance to do the 10 things according to Forbes that you should never share with your manager. We'll talk about that on the next time around, okay? Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so very much. My guests tonight are Ray Agliata, Career Training Instructor, and Peg Gould, Director of Community Education, both from Mercer County Community College. Thanks to our producer, Robin, to our engineer, Ruben. Music provided by Mozart. Join me next week. Let's do this again, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe. And until then, let's make this week the best week ever. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, Greg.